it is good to be back. It has been a long time since we've done security happy hours. It's actually been quite a few weeks between knee surgery, shoulder surgery. I've been out of commission. As you can see, the background's a little bit different. Had to change up my office a little bit. Still got the bar, but don't really have the ability to stand on a regular basis between back and all my other medical issues. So able to sit, get the show going. My shoulder is getting there, so we'll be good to go. But with that being said, it's good to be back. It is Security Happy Hour. This is Cyber Warrior Studios, and we got another amazing guest here. A good friend of mine. She's been on the show before, but since it's been a while, I'm going to let her come on and introduce herself. So give me about 10 seconds, and I promise we'll be right back. See, 10 seconds, and we're back. My good friend. Oh, it's been way too long. So why don't you go introduce yourself? Let the public once again be reintroduced to the amazingness that is you.
Oh goodness gracious! Okay, I can't follow it with that. But well, I am, as you see. Well, it says Mwanawa TB. As the last time you all saw me, I was Mwanawa Tarver. I'm now Mwanawa Tarver-Braton. So some other things have happened. But I was on the show back in the first time. I think back in 2023. I'm pretty sure. And
Yeah,
I had just basically gotten out of boot camp. I'm not sure if I had found a job yet at that point. But I came and spoke on, just being a newbie, basically. And I think the second one I did was about imposter syndrome.
And that, and you, because you had just started with the teaching assistant or helping out at the college.
I just started doing that and did that. I've done that for 2 years, and now I kind of stumbled, backwards into the job I have now. I am teaching in continuing education at Clayton State University, and I'm the instructor of their Cybersecurity 101 course. And that's what I wanted to do. That's not what I want to do ultimately. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but I wanted to have my own class, and I got to construct this class, say, build the, pick the textbook, build the curriculum, do the entire syllabus and all of that stuff. So that was extremely exciting to me. But I do want to talk tonight about what I think my real niche is, and kind of talk to people who are new about how they can find their niche, and if you haven't found it yet, that's cool too.
Yeah, I mean, because and it's something years ago when I first started this show, and Eric Bellardo was one of my co-hosts. It's one of the big things we always talked about was cybersecurity is a career field.
Yes.
It's not a job. It is vast. And so, and I think even me and you have had this discussion on a few occasions, even one-on-one, where people tend to come to you and say, "Hey, I want to get into cybersecurity," and you're like, "Where?
What do I do?" I'm like, "Which part?" I mean, I can tell you how to get into. I can tell you how to go through the way I went, but even then, that's not the only way to go.
Right. So, and there's different jobs, different areas, different things, and it's about finding your niche, finding what really you enjoy, and if you don't find your niche, I don't think you'll ever. I can't say you won't ever find enjoyment, but it makes it very hard to enjoy what you're doing.
Well, you're gonna stumble around, and you're not gonna, if you don't, it's like, trying to, for lack of a better analogy, it's like, trying to shoot at a target, and you're not, you're like, I think I'm getting the dot in the middle. I don't know which one I want to go with, and it took, how long have I been doing this? 3 years. It took most of the 3 years, and that's pretty quick, I'm sure. But to kind of, well, I went into this knowing what I wanted to do, but I now have, where I believe I can actually do it, and that's a whole other thing.
That's a whole different can of worms. Once you actually,
it's a whole other thing. That's a whole other thing. But the teaching part, I love it, and what's great about that is I can always do teaching on the side. I'm not going to tell you all how much I make, but it's a lot to be teaching a class. I think it's a lot more than I'm making before. And that, I also get pleasure and I get joy out of bringing new people into the field. Like I
Right.
get thrilled, and I was, if I'd had more time, I was doing some other things, trying to actually do some paperwork for this job. But I wanted to tag all of my students on LinkedIn. I still have students from 2 years ago. Um, can I use you as a reference? Thank you so much for you being being present. Paying attention to what we needed to do. And so that is just it's a wonderful thing to me. My mom
Yeah.
was a teacher, and I guess I got some of that from her. That's the only thing I got from her. That in this face, I look just like my mom. But just I know that I know I need to branch out, um, and needed to branch out, and so I've found an avenue where I'm actively working on doing the it's the CFI a CFI certification. So just thinking about I'm going to be a cyber forensics investigator. It just it's weird to me because this is what have been wanting to do, and I know that you have to level up and level up and
Mhm.
level up. But when I was taking boot camp, and I was like, okay, what is the what's the command to list everything? When you're at that point, you're like, I'm never going to be able to do this. I'm never going to be able to do this, and you can.
Yep.
So that's kind of what I'm talking about, and want to talk, especially to and toward people who were having doubts. I know there's probably been a whole lot of new people since the last time I spoke, and I haven't gotten to meet them. I know a lot of the ones that I spoke to. I guess probably like the last show, particular, have found their own have found their own niche, and they've running with it.
Well, let's think about it. It's even been a few months since I've done the show with how long I've been out. So even in that time, how many new people have been trying to get into the industry and trying to
Right,
make a name for themselves and trying to find
right.
just their place?
And I
And
don't think I don't think I realized it had been that long
it's been a while.
since you've been online, because I know we were going to do the show before, and you know some some conflicts and the lifing again.
I can finally lift my arm this high.
Oh my God! Hold on, hold your hand up again, though. I want to see the tattoo. I've seen that tattoo before. Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
that's my Harry Potter tattoo.
Yeah,
The
yeah. I
the the
saw that.
newest one I got is, well, you can't see it. It's hard to.
I can't
I'll
see
have
it.
to
Oh, I don't
send
know
you a
what you're doing.
picture.
Okay, I can kind of see it. Okay,
Yeah, the
there's a
light
glare.
isn't helping. The glare from
I've,
above
I've
sucks.
gotten two or three. Most One of the most recent ones is my husband's initials, but I guess
Yeah,
you can see that the little heart right there.
yours is easier to see than mine. If I turn these lights off, my whole room goes dark. You ain't gonna be able to see me anymore. It's just gonna
Lord, okay.
be. But no, I think the biggest thing. Call it a niche, call it a job, call it whatever you want.
So
The
calling, call it,
It's
yeah,
finding your path. It is really marking your place in this industry and figuring out what you want to do. So many people, and we've talked about it before, want to do the sexy thing that is pen testing,
pen
which I'm
testing. Everybody wants to do pen testing, or well, I'd have something to say about that in a little bit. But go ahead, go ahead.
but you look at pen testing, everybody loves it, right? Because that's what hits the news, the research, the 0 days, that, oh, I want to find
Mhm.
those. I want to do a bug bounty. I want to make money, da 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 da. But they don't realize, at least I don't think, a
Most
lot
people
of
do.
people, I know I didn't realize getting into it, just how in depth the paperwork was, the report
Yeah,
writing,
yeah.
the whole context of, oh, you got to take screenshots of everything.
Every single thing,
I got to do
and that
what?
is something that down the path I'd love it. Like I said, down the path I'd love to be able to be a pen tester. But I looked at just what the CEH and all that stuff, and I was like, and I for newbies, what are those? Acronyms are so
Uh huh. It's a
anyway.
military
Certified
industry.
ethical
It's a,
hacker.
it's it's a
Well,
militarized industry. That's why.
it is, and then but the thing is, getting into cyber forensics, I'm like, okay, what I've been learning is that you can get into you're cheek by jowl with I almost said it in a not nice way. I'm trying to be a lady. Cheek by
Hold
jowl.
up, hold up. We don't need to do
I'm
that
not
around
gonna
here.
say
This
it.
is
I'm not gonna
woo.
say it, and you're not gonna make me. Where you know you're with law enforcement and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and that's cause I'm the people are like, okay, you're gonna be a cop. No, I'm not gonna be a cop. Everybody, calm down. You ain't gotta hide your stuff, whatever. But I know
Hide
that
your
that's
weed. She's coming.
hide it all. Telling no, it's not even like it's not even like that. And it's so I think about it, it's so strange. I'm thinking, okay, people are going to be thinking that I'm the folks. I'm not the folks.
No.
I'm not. Well, I'm definitely the folks now. Haven't passed certification yet, but um, you laughing a little too much.
I just can't get over that. Like, because like that would be like the same thing around like my group's friends. Oh, you're gonna go be one of them now.
No, you've met me
Nah,
before.
man, I got enough skeletons in my
I got
closet. I
enough
don't,
going on, and I'm really not trying to check what you're doing unless you're doing. They said
plus, they
with
don't
the
pay me
forensic
enough.
things, unless
Let's be real.
you're doing something that that fits into that, and you're gonna know what that is, and I'm not coming for you. So,
Yep. Yep.
but and like I said, that was oh my goodness, I see a very very special guest in here.
I knew as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Hi, hubby."
Oh goodness, but
Uh,
I just really want people to not be like, especially if you're just starting out. I don't have the experience of doing like a degree track yet. I
right.
mean, that's something I might do later on. I might not. I don't know. Um, but if you just started, particularly if you go the boot camp route like I did, it's like you do your 6 months, you do your 9 months, whatever, and then you're like, okay, what the hell now?
Yeah,
And
I was there. I get it.
and the what now, the what now comes a lot with just making sure that you know the basics. And at some points in there, you don't even know you don't know what all of the basics are to be able to even figure out how to know the basics. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
you don't know what you don't know.
Well, there's that, and I think we have to understand. And one of the big things that I think a lot of hiring managers and a lot of organizations need to understand is they'll ask for like a CEH with
Right.
or a security plus or whatever. Now, in my eyes, a security plus is probably the most basic of security certifications you can get.
I
But
think it's the most basic that they're going to pay attention to. And I told my students, they're like, "Well, should I take an A?" They take the A plus. Like, no, you've gone through this course. You passed the A plus already doing that.
yeah, if anything, I would do Net Plus. A plus,
Mhm.
you should understand hardware. Like if you're getting into IT and cybersecurity, you can develop, you can research hardware. No one in cybersecurity is looking for A plus, so you can do that research on
Mhm.
the side.
Mhm.
There's absolutely no reason to get the certification.
Right.
But the security plus and the net plus, I think, really sets you up to understand the foundations of what is security because
Right.
you need to understand networking
Mhm.
and you know how traffic works, how TCP/IP and the different protocols and
Mhm.
OSI model and things like that. And then you need to understand the basics of security. So, what
Mhm.
is a firewall? What is you know antivirus or EDR these days? What is all this other stuff?
Right.
So, having those understandings, you don't have to be. And I think it's because people get it in their head. Oh, I have to be an expert
Right.
and
Right.
and
And
you go
that I am guilty. That I got stuck on that. I'm
and
still
I've
not, and
yelled
I'm
at
not
you
saying I'm
for
not
that.
completely stuck, but I would, like that was some of the, like I was talking to you earlier about the imposter syndrome, because I get on this show, and I'm like, all this stuff, and then I'm talking, I have a lot of friends on LinkedIn, and you probably know all of them, and they're all like CISOs and CISSPs, and I'm like, what am I? Who am I even? Why am I even talking about anything? But the thing is that everybody I'm talking to is like, okay, you got the juice, so you just have to keep pushing.
Yeah,
And that's kind of the message that I want to send to whoever's new out there, is that you're not going to know what the hell you're doing. You're not. I mean,
right.
it's kind of like learning to drive a car. When you first learn to drive a car, I was 16. Some people are 12 or
I was
13.
16.
But I could keep the car in the road. I wasn't, swerving into ditches or, hitting other cars, but I didn't really know how to drive. I didn't know, all the nuances of what traffic
Mhm.
does and be prepared for this person to do this and that. And so it's one of those things that takes practice, but I know a lot of people get discouraged because, like, in order to practice, I need to have a job. Well, that's not necessarily true. It's not really true at all. Like I said,
Mhm.
I kind of fell. I kind of hit a streak of luck, and I fell into being a TA. Maybe like 3 or 4 months after I got a boot camp, I fell into this
I say, how
instructorship.
much did that TA that role really help you grow, even within your own knowledge base?
Oh
Because you got to
man,
figure, me and you had talked,
yeah,
and you were like, "Hey, I just got out of this boot camp. I'm
yeah,
trying to break into the industry."
hmm
And then about a year later, you had been in this TA
hmm
position, so you kind of fell into it. I
yeah.
know that
Well,
wasn't your
after
niche, right? That wasn't what you were
Well, but
looking
the thing
for.
the thing is, it has become part of it. Like I said, I didn't know now. I know after teaching it because I when I got to the end of my boot camp, I was like, I
Mhm.
kind of would like to teach people this, and where I was in my head was I wanted to teach my family, and stuff like that. It didn't occur to me that oh my goodness, me teaching other people, like I barely know what I'm doing, and then it after let's see, I think it's 2 years, about two. It's about been out 2.5 years, or two and some change.
Yeah.
And I realized that that is something that is one of my niches. But niches.
Yeah,
Me
however you wanna
me and
pronounce it,
Jeff were trying to figure out how to say it, and he said that neither one is wrong. So
they're both right. Kinda like tomato, tomato,
tomato,
potato,
tomato. Yeah,
potato, yeah, you'll be
yeah.
alright.
But I found that out from being taught.
Right.
And I did, there's so much stuff that I learned by teaching other people, because there are things, go through the curriculum. It's like I didn't know that. I
Yep,
know that either, or didn't know this way to go about it. And then students will ask questions, and I'm like, I don't know, but I'm gonna find out. So yeah, I did. I feel like I did grow a lot during that, and I also feel like I got my confidence up.
well, one of the things, and I can't remember if it was the Army or one of my old jobs, it might have even been it when I worked at CISO.
Mhm.
Um, each one teach one.
Yeah,
So in order to really grow and do more and understand, you have to be able to teach somebody else. So in
right,
order to perfect your knowledge, right, of a certain thing, of a certain subject,
right,
first you go and learn it,
mm,
right? And then you take a test, do whatever, you study, do all these things. And then you teach somebody. It isn't until you can teach somebody that
that
you
you
true.
fully that you fully feel like, or you can fully say, hey, I got this. I know not, and you don't in cybersecurity, you don't ever got this. I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all this, but that you are like, okay, I understand this enough to be able to talk it through to this person. And then when you see that you talk this person through it, and then they actually are able to do it, oh my god, there's no feeling like that.
Yep.
They're really, and that's why I love teaching. And then they'll be like, they call me Miss Braden, Miss Tarver, Mwanawa, hey you, whatever. And
Hey, you.
Mwanawa, they just they butcher my
Just
name
wait till
up
they
fast.
start calling you Moana. You'll be all
Hey, and I won't. I will not. Although I did buy some of that Bath and Body Works soap that came out that was Moana.
Moana too.
And all I was like, maybe I should put a W and an A at the end. But no, it was just so neat to be like, even, just like, we would have, breakout groups and stuff like that, and they would ask a question, and the lecture had been going on, go in our breakout rooms, and they'd ask my opinion or my, how I would go about solving the problem. And when I was able to explain to them how to solve the problem and it worked, oh my God, you can tell me anything, because because I was like, okay, I don't think I know, but I'm going to explain it to you the way I know, and if it when it works, it's just like wow.
Yeah.
So it's a different perspective. It's a different perspective from where I was in 2023.
Yep.
And that's one reason I wanted to come on the show is because this field is all, like you said, is all about growth.
Yep.
And for those of you who did not see the last two
Go
episodes
back
that
and
I
watch
did,
them. They're on
you had to go
YouTube.
back a
Go watch them.
while.
After
So
this, go watch. You know what? Just go watch the entire Security Happy Hour playlist. You'll be all
do that.
right.
But it was just this is a kind of, and this is also kind of a check in for me. It's like, okay, what do I know now that I didn't know then? And it's a lot.
I was gonna
It's a
say,
lot.
so the biggest question I have for you in that regard, because you have come a long way, and again, me and you,
I've been talking
life,
for like
right? We've been talking off and on
2022. Yeah,
for about 3 years now, 2 or 3 years.
right.
So in that time, I have seen so much growth, but then I'd see you disappear and then come back with something new, and then disappear and then come
And
back with something
that's
new.
a whole that's a part of the whole thing I want to talk about. And it's not, when I've disappeared, I have not completely disappeared. I'm working on things, in my own little, but at the same time, just know that there's an element of, like I said, the imposter syndrome. Something
Right.
has happened, and I'm just like, okay, I think I know this, but I don't really know it. And all these people that I know who are so established and they know all this stuff, I'm not going to bother them with the fact. Okay, I reached out to Jack Hewitt
Yeah.
because I was trying to spin up a the Ubuntu CSI VM. And I'm following the instructions. You do this, you download that, you do so, and then you go to VirtualBox, da da da, and it just would not work. And I finally just stopped being proud and be like, "Help! I don't know, I don't understand why this is not working." I mean, it got to a point where it worked, but it didn't work. It worked, but it
Yeah.
didn't do exactly what I was needing it to do. So
Right.
that's a whole other thing. Just I would say that to people who are beginning, and some people need to be reminded of this, who are long-term veterans. Ask for help.
Well, you have to. One of the
Ask for help.
the biggest thing for me is there's no such thing as an expert in this industry.
No.
People can claim that everybody's claim to fame, right? They go on the news, and there's a lot of big people, a lot of big names. They'll go on the news, they'll do talks in the news, like say, "Oh, cybersecurity expert so and so," or so
I have a
this
sweatshirt that
expert.
says cybersecurity expert. So, I go out in the wintertime and I'm wearing it, and they want to ask me all kinds of crazy mess. I'm just like,
But to me, there's no such thing as an expert because it's an ever evolving field.
right.
And so, I had a conversation with again, I used to work for CISO, and I was at B-Sides Pittsburgh earlier today, and I was talking to John Ziola, who
Mm,
does this dude does not know how to like just stay stagnant. It's
mm.
always the newest thing.
Constantly
So like
evolving, constantly learning.
right now he's on like AI and vibe coding and how to secure vibe coding because the general code isn't secure. I'm like, dude, like, do you ever pump the brakes and just realize you need to master one thing? And he was like, no.
Well, I mean, some people are geared that way, where they can kind of grab this, grab that, grab this, grab that, and some of us are like, we're going to grab all of it, but we got to grab it in sections. We got to grab,
Yes.
like I'm doing the cyber forensics thing, but I also started studying for the CISSP, and I know that I'm way ahead of schedule, but so
But but again, this is where niches come down to is, if you one, the CISSP is a mile wide and an inch deep. So
true.
like,
True. And
and
I,
it's
I did some practice tests. I didn't even study anything, and I'm just like, okay, this, and I
yeah,
got a 60%. So I'm
yeah.
like, okay,
It's not as hard as people make it out to be. You just have to
it's
think from a
it's really
business.
not.
You have to think from a business aspect, not a security aspect.
Right. And I
You
have
can
been
kind of mesh the
I
two,
have
but
been
for the most
an
part,
office
it's
manager, and I've worked closely with people in business, so that did help.
yeah,
That did help. So
yeah. So but niches help because if like for me, right, I'm hiring we're here and hopefully within the next week I'll be posting a job for someone who knows the new Palo Alto
mm.
um sim. So XSIAM exim, whatever they want to call it. So I'm gonna have to
Unfortunately, I
hire,
don't know it, or I'd be in there like swimwear.
right? So I'm gonna have to hire someone that knows that. And I'm like, all right, cool. Which means Nothing else. Like I could care less about half of your other certifications. I need to know you know this product,
Specifically that you know this, right?
and if you have that, great. Then we can talk. But if you don't have that product,
Then I'm not
I'll
going to look at the
talk to
rest of
you,
what you have,
but it's
but you're not.
probably not going nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
and that's another thing. People, I'm sure we've talked about this before. Even if it wasn't with me, that people who are new to the field get hung up on what's. I always get this question: what certifications do I need to get into cybersecurity? I'm like, I really that's not a question I can answer. The answer is always it depends, and then they get.
mhm,
I always was telling my students it depends. They were getting mad at me. They're like, everything depends.
it
It
does.
does. It does.
The only time that answer never worked for me was when I was going for my master's degree.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
and we'll have that discussion later because that was an argument between me and my instructor that
Well,
did not go
I
well.
did a master's degree, but I didn't do it in cybersecurity. I did mass
Yeah.
communication, and it still doesn't seem like that would fly.
I never finished it because I ended up PCSing. I ended up moving into college wasn't they didn't have their online course yet, but
I
that
think
being
I think
neither
you
here
told
nor
me
there.
that. Yeah.
I ended up me and my intro to cybersecurity instructor got into quite a few arguments because she was like, "Oh, I got I worked for the NSA and all these other three-letter agencies and did all these
Mhm.
things." And you ask her a simple question, and she was like, "Well, it depends on how much money you spend. We're
And that
talking
is,
two different technologies."
and that's a
No, the hell
valid
you don't.
answer. Yeah, but they would just be so irritated, like, what doesn't depend? Whoopty whoopty whoop. I'm like, okay, look, you're gonna have to narrow it down a little bit more, and maybe I can give you the answer
All
to
right,
that, or
all right.
maybe
So
not.
for clarification, it was if an attacker is attacking a network. Now, mind you, I've been in cybersecurity already. I have been
Okay,
breaking into things, doing all this, so I knew
love
the
it.
answer, but I was trying to help my class. So
Right.
I was like, "Hey, if an attacker's attacking a network and they get blocked,
Mm-hmm.
are they not going to know there's an IPS there?" And she's like, "Well, it depends on how much money the client spends, or the customer, or the person
Depends
spends on
on
an IPS."
what they have going on as far as
No,
what their resources are. No,
no, no.
no.
You see, if an attacker, if it depends on anything, it depends on the attacker's capabilities. Because any attacker worth his salt is going to know
Gonna know what's
something is
going
blocking
on
him and what is.
and be ahead of that. Okay.
He may not know how to
Okay.
get around it, or she may not know how
But
to get
they
around
need
it.
to know
They're
that,
going to
okay,
know
that and
something's there.
that's where I was coming from, it coming at it from a different angle. But
But from a
if
from a
they are
company perspective,
if they're decent, they or above decent, they need to be able to see, hey, this is going to be these are going to be our things that will trip us up,
yeah.
and at least be like, hey, we know they're there, and go from there
So
and
like an
see what you
attacker
can do
isn't
to get through
spending
it.
money.
Yeah.
So if she's and that was my thing. I don't care how much money the company spends. You put an IPS in somebody's way, they're gonna find out. They're gonna
Yeah.
know something's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so from an attacker perspective, they're not spending money. From a
Right.
defensive perspective, I don't care how much you spend. It'll either stop them or it won't. And if it does, they're gonna find out. Like,
Right. Well, I mean, I would think in that situation you could. I mean, you could bleed dry
yep.
trying to catch up with all that. And I'm sure there's lots of companies. They I cannot remember the acronym right now. Fang. Especially companies like that that have enough money. And I'm not saying they don't that face is.
No, I
I
look
am not.
after
I'm
what
not
happened this
saying
past week or two
what
weeks with Microsoft. Oh, I'm livid with
a
all
whole
of big tech
bunch.
right now.
No, I'm not. Like I said, and somebody they would have to pay me a couple $1 million a year to work for
Yeah.
them.
Oh yeah. Dude, you'd have to make it look,
A
I
lot,
better be set for life if I'm working for you
yes,
there.
because they're gonna work you to death, and there's so much other mess going on. But yeah, unless you're a company like that where money is like toilet tissue, then eventually you're gonna bottom out.
It happens. But but
Yeah.
but again, like, with all things, again, it was me trying to help my class just to understand that an IPS is an IPS is an IPS.
Oh
They
my
they
goodness. I'm sorry. My husband says depends on how much you spend. Sounds like a politician's answer.
oh, he's absolutely right. He's
you're not
absolutely right.
you're not wrong, but
Let me
it's
let me circle back on that one. But
he is extremely smart. So yeah, be
he
prepared.
is. But yeah, so I just think, from an aspect of finding your niche, you can't go by degrees because a degree is going to give you a little bit of everything if it's a good school.
Right.
Some of them aren't good. So you know, eh, you have to understand the fundamentals of everything, which is why I say Security Plus and Net Plus
Mhm.
are very good to get those certifications because then at least I know you understand the fundamentals of security, the fundamentals of networking, and you use a computer every day. You should
Right.
be able to understand the bare minimum how to install an operating system and how they work. If you've never used Linux, that's fine, unless you're a pen tester, because I'm
Ooh, that
sorry
would
you're going to be
suck. But,
using Linux in pen testing.
right.
I've
But
seen massive spend
Linux
in
is so
people.
easily taught. Like and when I first like I said when I first started learning it, I was like, oh my god, y'all are about to take me on the screen with the green letters. I was panicked.
Yeah,
But it's not. I mean, it's not as scary as what you think if you know what you're doing, and if you
I
practice.
I love Linux. So like I'm
Me
one of
too
those
now, but
people.
at first I was just like, I don't want to do this green screen mess.
See, the first time I did that was in high school.
Mm.
My first typing class was on the black screen with the green writing and
Hmm.
the click click
Well,
click.
so was mine. I'm a little older than you, so yeah.
So like, and that's how I played Oregon Trail, if I'm not mistaken, on the
Oh
five and a
Lord,
quarter
this
inch floppies, the actual floppy disk,
yes, the
the
ones that
original name for floppy.
I still have some. I could walk over here and look at the cabinet and 3x5 or the
So
4x6, the big ones.
yeah, so like, it's one of those things that like I look at. And I despised Mac for the longest time, or Apple. You figure it was Apple, it was Macintosh OS,
Right, right.
Macintosh OS 2, and my uncle
Mm.
like swore by it. I came up on
It.
DOS, Windows 3.1,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
all that stuff. I had never touched Unix or Linux.
I was like, how old was I? I in the
High
single
school was when
digits,
I
and I
hit.
was programming in BASIC.
Mm,
You know, but never thought I was gonna get this far with it. But that was just my dad buying me a computer. I'm like, oh, this is neat. And I was the same way about Mac. And now Jeff is gonna tease me the save icon.
that is it, Griffin.
The
That's what
3D
it
printed
is.
save, the
The
3D
three.
print.
Hold up. Time, please. Y'all have never seen my coasters. These are my
I
coasters.
must
The,
have.
the save icon.
I need. And I have had that experience with like, you mean the save icon? Okay, you don't know that that's of course you don't.
You
But
have
no,
died of
this was no,
dysentery.
this would be
Don't
for
do that to me,
this were
Jeff.
the big ones,
Yeah, the
that
five and
like
a quarter.
flop.
Yep, with the big old hole in the middle because it was the,
Yeah, and
the,
then
the
you could do
magnetic
something
ribbon
with
went
the
all
little
the way
CD
around.
inside, and yeah, it was yeah.
There was no locking that disc. It didn't have the feature to lock it like the 3.5 inches did.
Nope, nope.
Oh man. But yeah, like for
Oh
me,
no,
my
Hubby
niche
said
came.
you died of dysentery.
Yeah, I saw that. I said, don't do that to me. But like I always thought I was gonna be a pen tester. And so here's the thing, right? And we're talking about niches. For anybody breaking in, I legitimately did. My first love was breaking into wireless networks. Beyond fixing computers and the IT side of things, I did help desk, I did all that. I loved fixing stuff. But when it came to cybersecurity, I discovered my love of cybersecurity when wireless came out.
Gotcha.
And I started breaking into wireless networks all over the place.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so I thought that was going to be what I went into. That was going to be my passion, my love. I was going to do it forever.
Mm.
The Army never let me do it, nor the Air Force. So I just kept learning on my own.
Right.
Like, didn't matter what I did. When I got out, my first job out of the Army had nothing to do with offensive security. It was
Wow.
working for Sheets Corporate as a glorified vulnerability management like person.
Mm.
And I was developing VM programs. And then My next job was my first MSSP. First time I worked remote too, 2018 for Presidio,
Wow. If you were
doing.
working remote in 2018, you're a
Uh-huh.
soldier.
I haven't seen an office since 2018. I refuse to go back.
You know what? And I'm so scared that I'm gonna wind up with hybrid. I'm looking at hybrid at best. You know, but the
That's
job
one of
I
the
have
reasons I.
now at home. But
I
I just, I'm about trying to get my foot in the door. But be perfectly honest, and nobody tell anybody. I haven't been in an office since 2022.
yeah, a lot of people.
And trying to go every single day. I mean, I can do it if y'all are gonna pay me, and
Yep.
if it's something that I'm passionate about. But it's just
It
so
would
many
probably
people are like that.
it would probably cost me an extra. It would probably take an extra 50 grand a year, 50 grand more a year of what I'm getting
What?
paid right now for me to go work somewhere that required me in office.
Okay, I guess I'm cheap. I wasn't going 50,000, but it would there would be some taxation there
Oh yeah.
because it's just a whole different thing. And I'm the people that my mind works better when I can be in my own little
Yep.
space.
Give me my element. Give me the
Yeah,
task that I need to do for the day or the
right.
week or the month or whatever. Tell me I got these due dates. We'll
Set
knock
me
it out.
loose. This is when it's due. Okay, gotcha. Don't come and ask me every single day. Did you
Yep.
do this? Did you do that? Did you do this? Did you do that? I'm like, it will be done by the time if
If
it's due
not
on the
before.
third at 11:59, you'll have it. If like you said,
Yep.
if you haven't had it before, but sit there and just micromanage.
Oh, I can't stand
That
micromanagement.
is
I
what
despise it.
soured me on office work.
Yep. So that's one of the reasons I left Sheets. Beyond the pay, the pay sucked, but that's one of the reasons I left Sheets is because my work was getting done. I'd turn it in, then have to wait for my boss or somebody else to review it and let me know it was good. So like every hour, I was going out and smoking a cigarette or going somewhere else and talking to other team members and being gone for
That
like an
sounds like
hour at a
me.
time.
Mm.
And it legitimately, like, people were complaining, "Why is he outside every hour?" Well, because my work's done. What am I gonna do? Sit there
I'm
and surf
done,
the
so
internet?
I'm sitting there and do it again. Am I gonna play with Minesweeper? What do you want
Yeah.
now?
So I got tired, like, in an office, like, I'll knock everything out, cool, to be done with an hour, but if you ain't gonna let me
Hmm.
leave in an hour,
Then what am I
then I'm
supposed
gonna
to
sit
do?
here
Yeah,
for no reason.
it's like, well, you're not gonna get paid if you don't stay from 8 to 5 or 9 to 5, whatever it is, eight to
Yeah.
six. My one job was 8 to 6, and if I got everything done, which the last office job I had nothing to do with cybersecurity. But there were times where I got all of what I could get done. Somebody else might need to come in and put their signature on this or do this or add this file to this or whatever. And so I'm sitting here looking around the sky for things to drop down that I can do because it's 1:30 in the afternoon and I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
But if you leave at 1:30, then there goes your job. So,
So and again, this is why finding your niche is very important and why, like, people who for one, consulting is not for everybody, and it's only for the more experienced people. Because consulting, you have to have experience in this industry. But it is a niche you can get into.
mm.
It's just not an entry level niche.
Oh
Even if
no,
somebody says I need a junior consultant, 9 times out of
a
10,
junior consultant is still you get at the junior
I
level. You still have to have some know-how.
yeah, you have to be able to talk because you're going to be client facing. So you can't go there and be second guessing yourself
Mm.
and be like, maybe, um, do you know what? I think like that's not going to work. That's not going to work.
I've had people, that I'll talk to a sign that don't say anything. So the people like at the store, and they'll find out I do cybersecurity. Oh well, I need to find out if my husband is cheating on me. Like, look,
That's a you and him issue.
that's a
That's not a
different
me
thing.
issue.
That's a whole different thing. That's a private investigator thing, and I'm not there yet. But even if I was, you're gonna have to. No, that is no.
Yep.
That
Yep.
is beyond my skill set right now.
Even
But
then, that's not something I would ever get into. Like, I don't want to dig into personal issues. You deal with your
See, I
family, your
do, but
situation.
not like in family situations. Unless I want to go into forensics, but that's not. I don't want to go into. I don't. I want to go into criminal forensics, not
Yeah,
not
exactly.
your baby daddy is not doing what he's supposed to be doing. I'm not getting involved in that because I just I've heard enough of that from people throughout my life. Guess what he's doing? I don't care.
So you know, for people looking for where they want to go,
Hmm.
we talk a lot about fundamentals. What do you think is like the best way, not like saying the best path to get into cybersecurity, but the
Hmm.
best way to kind of find your niche, like of what you
To
enjoy
figure out
in
what it is you do.
cybersecurity?
Um, this is kind of the way it happened with me. Well, like I said, mine was a little bit different because I got into cybersecurity because I had so many security breaches and so many personal things that happened to me. But if you don't have that happen, and you're say you're doing a boot camp or you're doing a degree, you look at it and you think about what which subjects resonate with you. Now, if we get to pen testing part, and you're just like, I would rather pound nails into my eyes. That's not for you. That's kind of how I felt. I was like, this is neat. The concept is neat, but I know, and it's no, it wasn't even it wasn't even the reports thing because I got a master's and a bachelor's in basically writing things, but it's not what people think. And so, so just going through what I think is going through figuring out based on what your what you've learned
Yep.
in your in your intro, whatever your intro path is,
Yeah.
and just kind of poke around in that.
Yeah.
Just poke around and see what you have an aptitude for, and then also what is practical.
I agree. What can you learn now at home? What are you able?
Right,
What can you learn for free? Right.
right,
And what I mean by that is
right.
you can learn everything for free, right? You can download Security Onion and get an
Mhm.
understanding of blue team aspects, right? The EDRs, the SIM, the SOAR, all that stuff.
Mhm.
You can hell, I got a whole video on installing Security Onion on my channel. It's a few years old. I don't know if it's still good, but you can go check it out. Let me know. Uh,
Okay. I'll I'll
shameless
I'll
plug.
give it a try.
But
If it tanks, I'll let you know.
all right, cool. But there's so many things like pen testing. You got Hack the Box, try Hack Me.
Hack the box, try hack me. That and a lot of people, that kind of gives you a little bit of a feel like, okay, I
Yeah,
know I kind of like this. Is kind of neat. Versus, oh no, I don't ever want to see this again in my life.
yeah,
Um, yeah,
yeah,
and so like I said, it's a little bit different. Me trying to speak to that because I went into it with a particular goal in mind,
right.
for a particular reason.
So did I.
But yeah, but even after learning all this different stuff, because it would have been kind of a kick in the what if I'd gone and learned all this stuff, and I wanted to do forensics, I wanted to do all of that sort of stuff, investigative stuff, and I
Right,
just hated it. I don't know what I would have done with that. I don't know what I would have done with that. I would have gone maybe to a different, I don't know, a
career
different
path, something.
segment, different, but I just couldn't see myself doing that. And then when I found out that, what all it entails and that it's stuff absolutely love, oh no, it was over.
I've had a lot of fun using open source tools, not for forensics purposes, but for data
Hmm.
recovery. So a
Okay.
buddy comes up to me and says, "Hey, my drive isn't working. Can you fix it?" Or I'm like, "Well, one, I can't fix it. What I can do and try to do
It's
is get
recover.
some of your information back." And I've been able to do that on occasion. Although I did make a mistake on one friend's is I did it wrong because he wanted like all his pictures or videos. I don't know. He wanted something back. Um, and the way I did it, it was pictures, and the way I did it was completely jacked up. It filled up an entire, so his hard drive was maybe 250, 500 gigs. It
Hmm.
filled an entire 3 terabyte external.
What the
Um,
heck was going on in there? What did you
So the
do?
videos that he had,
3 terabytes. You went for okay. All
oh,
right.
I kid you not. So what happened was the videos that he had,
Mm.
it decompressed and went frame by frame and turned them into
No,
images.
no. Okay. All right. That makes sense.
So instead of getting all of the pictures, I got all
Mm.
the pictures, but then I don't remember what tool I was using. This was years ago.
Mm.
Um, it also took the video files that are like MP4, AVI, things like that, and was
Mm.
like, "Oh, you want everything? Oh, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take
And
these
not frame
500
by
meg
frame.
videos and we're gonna turn them into frame by frame
No,
huge
okay,
images." I
that
was
makes
like,
a lot more sense. Yeah,
"What
that's
did I do?
disastrous.
What did
No,
I do wrong?" I got
I would
back
have
in.
cried. I've been like, this is what it's supposed to be like. Bye.
I got back home because I was letting it run. I was like, "Ah, it's 500 gigs. It ain't gonna do nothing." I got
I
back home
do.
and it like stopped, and I was like, um, why did it stop? And then
It,
I looked at my drive and I was like, what did I do?
for real, for real. Yeah, that
And then
kind
I
of
had to
screwed
go
me.
look and I was like, oh, oh, that makes so much more sense now.
No, it
I still
makes
got to figure out where I
sense,
jacked up
but
my
you,
fan,
you
but
still got to
that makes
figure
more
out how
sense.
to, yeah, where things went awry. But yeah, yeah.
I started using different tools that would just like, hey, just pull back these file extensions. If the metadata that is there for the file extension, pull that.
Right.
Otherwise, leave it go.
Just leave it alone. Please don't give me any more frame by frame.
Hmm.
And that's what I'm, my, I can't say my newest love, but just the the path I'm going now is like I was saying earlier is going to do the cyber forensics, um, Linux cyber forensics certification,
Right.
and just looking into, like I said, I'm still baby stepping it through, but just looking at all the different things you can do is exactly what I want. You can do, um, people's um, um, people's phones, people's
Yep.
social media. You can scrape all of that. You can get deleted files that are in there. Just I mean, it's just a whole bunch of tools that I was just like, this is what I want. This is it. This
So
is what
what's
I want
Slack
to do.
space?
Huh?
What's Slack space?
What's Slack space? You
Mhm.
tell me.
When you delete something from an operating system, it's not actually deleted. So
It
when you
deletes
go to
something that's not
Windows, so when you go into Windows and you hit delete file, you just hit the delete button
right.
on your keyboard.
Right.
It doesn't
Okay.
actually delete the file.
No, it's not gone.
It actually, what it's called is Slack space. It tells the operating system, hey, when you get the chance, you can overwrite these sectors of your
That's
hard
okay.
drive.
That makes sense.
Which is why a lot of people use, like, I have Bitdefender and it has a wiper built in that'll overwrite and overwrite and overwrite, do all those things. So it
Right.
deletes everything.
Right.
But this is how you recover information, because the files you recover through forensics
Mm-hmm.
are actually files that are in that Slack space that has yet to
And
be
they've
overwritten.
been quote unquote deleted, but they're
Mhm.
still over here, like in this holding pattern, sort of.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
basically still sitting there. Griffin said it right. It deletes the pointer. It tells the operating system,
Gotcha.
next time
It is
you
wonderful.
write something or do something, you can put it here. But
Mm-hmm.
for now, the pointer to that file that the operating system sees is on this sector of the hard drive. We're
Mm-hmm.
going to delete that pointer. We're not going to show that sector anymore. We're eventually going to write over it. But
Okay.
even if you write over it
Gotcha.
once,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Like, you're still able to recover some of those files because you're only it's kind of like UDP. It's
Okay.
it'll have it's a connectionless type of deal where,
Things
hey,
just get thrown out there if it gets
pixels
where it
may
gets
be
there.
missing, but I can still get 98% of the picture because you only wrote over like these 5 bytes of
Yeah.
data.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I learned that in my forensics course when I was going for my master's with Slack space. I never knew what it was called, and then my instructor told me. I
I've
was like,
heard
ah,
I've heard the term, and then I've heard the definition, but not never them two together. Like somehow they didn't meet.
yeah, yeah. So it is. It's when you just it's when you don't, and it's also why when you go to the military or more secure facilities, they have either magnetic crap, I can't remember the
Was
name of
it
them,
was
but
it degaussing,
yeah, the
degausing?
degausers. So when you have degausers, yeah, the old defrag was a good visualization. Absolutely, Griffin.
Mm,
Degausers,
mm.
fire, destroy, like actual destruction of hard
The
drives.
complete destruction, or I know the degaussers. I don't know. People are here that
Yep.
don't know what that is. The magnetic just taking it off the.
So, dude, and it was so loud. Like we had a degausing room, and it'd be like you turn it on, and like, did it
Well, I
work?
don't know why that would be so loud. But I mean, yeah, and then that's really truly the only ways to get rid of. They talk about things on the internet, or stay on the internet,
Yep.
and that's true
Yep.
because unless you go to the source of wherever ever all this stuff is stored
Good luck
and
finding it.
obliterate it. Yeah, good luck finding it. But if you do find it, then you got to obliterate it. You got to set it on fire. You got to magnetize it. You got to do all this
Yep.
stuff. And by that point, I said, like I said, you probably won't find it to begin with, and you don't want to sit here and fight with Fang
Yep.
about I need to get at this data. I need to get this information.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah.
you are who?
So
Cool, then.
I would sit there. I love the fact that you're getting into forensics. To me, that's amazing. It is one of my favorite like subsets to the field. I never got into it. Like I said, I did a little bit of data recovery, but I don't know if mentally I could handle forensics from that perspective. Mentally, I
There
don't know if
is
I could.
I have concerns about some of it. I do, and I think we talked about this at some point, maybe on the last time I was here, that the things that you might see and the things that
Mhm.
you're going to have to. For me, um, for me, the solving it is worth me having to look at it
I
because
get that.
like I said, I have some very personal reasons that aren't even some of them aren't even just about me anymore.
Yeah.
Some things that some family members have gone through, and so yeah, I know I'm going to have to look at some ugly stuff.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to have to look at some, the basest stuff, that human beings do.
Yeah.
But if I can take that and I can make sure that this person doesn't get victimized,
Yeah.
or this person doesn't go to jail who didn't deserve to go to jail, or something like, you get what I'm saying, then I've seen some stuff, and so I'm not a blushing and blushing, what is it, blushing violet,
Yeah.
weeping violet, blushing something. I but a lot of people say that you can't stay, they say you can't stay in that too long, but with forensics the thing is, you if you have a job and you're doing, let's say you wind up doing child pornography and stuff like this, there are other aspects of forensics that you can do.
Yeah.
You can do financial fraud, or all
Yeah.
kinds of different things. You can do people's um um social media stuff. You don't have to do that,
Right.
but I think you have to know how to do it
Yeah.
and be exposed to it at some point in time. But it's important enough to me, that I'm going to give it a shot.
So this is what I want to do. One, I love and appreciate everything about that. We all have our reasons for doing certain things, and I don't want to get into your reasonings for that, but I absolutely appreciate, because it does. It takes a strong will, a strong mind, and a strong heart to be able to deal with that. But I will say, um, from me personally to you, I respect the hell out of everything you're doing and
Thank
where you're
you.
trying to get to. And me and you will talk more. You're not ignoring me anymore. I will start messaging you every week to make sure we
Okay,
continue on the
you
path for.
you my husband is listening, so
Yeah, and
be
he's hearing
calm.
me. There
Shrinking violet, shrinking violet.
you
That's what
go.
I said. That's what I said.
Um,
What did I say? Okay. Shrinking violet. But no,
but
he knows that sometimes I need a little extra push, and he's there every day. He's like, "Did you do this? Did you do that? Did you remember that?" But I do get into that mode where I'm just like, seriously, I get into, well, I'm not up here on the level of this person and that person. Jag had to come pull me out of a
Quit
corner.
quit comparing yourself to others.
I know that. I
You
know that.
compare where
Okay,
you're at
no,
today to where you were yesterday. And as long as you're
which is
doing better,
much better. And I
then you're
know
doing
that. I know that. But sometimes it's like, okay, all these people I know, they have, they're doing this and they're making this much money and they're CISOs and all this stuff. And then I start getting flipped out, and I have to tell myself, you just started doing this three
yep,
years ago. Calm down.
yep,
There's, if you should not, if you were where they are, that meant that somebody dropped the ball in there somewhere.
oh yeah,
As far as your qualifications and whatnot like that, it's like, oh, okay, well, you have three years experience, teaching. Sure, you can be CISO of our company. Now, wait a minute, are
yep.
you sure? No, no, they're not sure. Throwing me in there and into the
Yep.
mix, and trying to see, if it spins or if it doesn't spin. So no,
Comparison is the thief of joy,
it
Griffin. I
is.
couldn't have said it better myself. Actually, I think I may have said it better than myself at one point, but I can't do it right now.
But I have always heard that, you know there's no, if you want to be happy, you can't be comparing yourself to this person and this person and
Yep.
this person, because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what they did to get there. And
You
you're
don't know
not
their path,
there.
their journey, their story.
Right, and you don't know, where they are versus where you are. I'm sitting here and I'll compare myself to people who've been doing this for 20 years and get mad because I'm not there. Well, if I was, that would be inhuman. And you
Yep.
can ask my husband. I really do. I really am like, I'll just be like, why don't I know how to do this? What? And he's like, you've only been doing this for 3 years. Calm down, please. He's a very special person. And he
Look,
would have to,
hey,
that would have to be to marry me. But
for both of us, like it takes a special kind of person to deal with us. Let's be
yes,
fair.
he is that for me. But
So, but hey, this is what I want to do. We got 4 minutes left.
oh,
I'm gonna
wait,
give you the floor.
that was
All
a
right,
quick hour.
you have the floor. I want you to talk about anything you want to talk about for the next 4 minutes.
Does it have to be on topic? No,
Nope.
no, I'm going to talk on topic, and I'm not going to sit here
Okay.
and ramble. But what I'll say is that, for I haven't been able to really pay attention to the dialogue here too much. But for those of you, anybody here who is just now getting into, I'm gonna take these glasses off because they're making my head look huge. Anybody who is new to the game, trying to get into the game, get your fundamentals in and give yourself time. Give yourself time to understand what you want to do. And then when you figure out what you want to do, give yourself time to learn the ins and outs of that. Don't, and this is if you've gotten this lesson from, Mr. Derek here, don't be like me and just disappear when something gets too challenging, but when you start doubting yourself. Don't That's the perfect time to ask people for help and ask, okay, am I on the right track? Am I as far away from my goal as I think I am? That was the big thing for me. Is I might think I was so, far from where I wanted to be, where I was trying to be, and I'd be like two steps to the left. So, it's doable. It's doable. Like I said, I did not I started, how was I going to start doing cybersecurity? I was like 46, 47, something like that. So I'm telling y'all how old I am. This was a career change from, so many different things that I've done, but I had a passion for it. And that's why I've stuck with it. And that's why, I found my niche in both teaching and forensics. And, there's a lot to learn about, each field, but, just, if you're new, get your basics together and just go and tool around and see what you like.
I
Go from
absolutely
and
love
go
that.
from there.
I absolutely love that. No, it's true because we have to play around in this industry. You have to be willing to. work with different tools, work in different things to find what you really love. And so, once again, I respect the hell out of you because of where you were, where you're getting to, and where you're at now. Even with you ghosting me on occasion, because
This is the third time you brought this up, but you'll be fine.
it's because I love you.
Do you want to talk about how you cut me completely out of the thumbnail? Do you want to talk about that?
Oh, we can talk about that because look at my past few thumbnails. I haven't put anybody in them. It's called
Okay,
I'm
I was about to
lazy
get
and
salty.
started like scheduling last minute. And
Okay.
so I was like, I can't be like, I didn't have time anymore. I was like, you know what? It's just me. Screw it. Let's
It's
go with
it's
this.
it's fine. I was like, I looked the same. Just put the picture with the purple hat and
Yeah, I
red.
ended up finding that like after I put it up. I was like, oh, I still got the same thumbnail. I could have put that up.
Yeah, I don't look any different. I'm just not wearing the hat. Hair hasn't changed. Still purple. Nothing changed.
No, I still love you. I joke around with you about it because at the end of the day, we have our struggles. We have life. Life does life. And like I said, even I've done it, right? I quit doing this show for how many weeks because of,
Mm-hmm.
X,
We
Y, and
were
Z. And I got
needing
football
to.
season coming up,
Oi.
so it's gonna be
And you have how many sons? 80.
5. Damn it. You went above the people that I was
about,
talking to at the conference. They said
about
20.
67 sons. So that, I mean,
so
that in and of itself is, yeah.
so life is life, and we all have that. Like that's why I don't get mad. I get worried. Like for me, I get worried because I know that like I am very I very much care about my friends and the people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis. So when people disappear on me, I'm like, shh.
No, I mean, I kept trying to jump in. And I had a few people that, particularly on LinkedIn, they were just like, "Are you all right? Where'd you go?"
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to be a little bit better about not burying my head in the sand. And I've got this wonderful blonde fellow to remind me now. He's a cutie pie. I'm sorry y'all can't see him. Um, but
Jeff, Jeff, I know who you I know where you're at now. I'm just gonna hit you up.
what?
I'm
He's
gonna
like,
find you.
he's
I'm gonna
like,
start messaging him.
I mean, you're welcome to it if you want a a good challenge.
I'm like, Jeff, hey, is she good? She hasn't told me anything in a while. She good?
And he'll and he stays on me about don't doubt yourself.
Yeah,
Don't I would do as far as trying to study for this CFI cert. Every days I'm like, I don't even want to go to the computer and look at this. I'm like, every time I look at this, I get a panic attack because I can't get this doing. I can't do the VM. He's like, calm down. You can do this. Like,
yeah,
you are very smart. And if other part of that is he's known me since I was 11 years old.
yeah,
So.
yeah. Which is great, and I love this for you. Like I said, I love everything you're doing. Keep at it. You're an amazing person doing amazing things.
Thank you.
And I'm very happy with where you're at right now. I
Thank
have
you.
my jokes, but in all seriousness, I couldn't be any happier for you. I mean, I probably could, the
Yeah,
moment you call and tell me
if
and
I
be like,
called and said that I was the CI the
I'm like, are you hiring? You know?
like, come on, brother. At XYZ Corp, and XYZ Corp has a budget of about 53 billion. And come on,
So I do. I absolutely respect the hell out of you, and I hope you keep.
that means a
I
lot. That means a lot to start it from just a super
Yeah.
newbie to a kind of newbie. But to be like, okay, yeah, you're going in the right path. Just keep on it.
hmm
That means a lot.
So keep doing what you're doing. But with that being said, we are past the top of the hour. I love everybody here. Those that have been tuning in, watching. It's been a while. I've missed y'all from the bottom of my heart. I've missed doing this show. It does. It brings me great joy to see people that are excelling in this field or breaking into the field for the first time or the second time, trying to find different paths. I absolutely enjoy this part of what I do. So, for everybody else out there, find your niche, find what you love, find your drive, your passion, your why, all these things, and keep growing. But with that being said, I love you all. Take care. And I will be back next week with another episode of Security Happy Hour. See you in the next one.